I am thrilled this morning to have the opportunity to introduce our final featured presenter of 2023, Christina Bagdanov. Some people might not know that Christina's passion for the outdoors. In fact, when I asked her of her interests and her hobbies, she shared that back in 2020, she took a 9-week trip throughout the national parks across the Western states, and she did it. She did this all by herself. She camped out in her car. She retrofitted her car and camped in it for a whole 9 weeks all by herself. Her favorite park that she visited was Call Up Canyon in Zion in southern Utah. And although she took the trip by herself, she was never lonely. Christine is also passionate about making and creating things. She's a creative engineer, if you will, and she really enjoys looking at a problem or finding a problem and really figuring out a solution to make it better or more efficient in creative ways. Some of these passions, as well as Christina's diverse journeys in life, have led her to ageless aesthetics. Please join me this morning in welcoming Christina Bagdanov as she educates us all on Botox, common myths and misconceptions. Christina, the floor is yours, and I'll give you a 2-minute warning.
Okay. I'll figure this out. And I also have a clock going on my end as well. All right. Well, hello, everyone. So I am Dr. Christina Bagdanov of Ageless Aesthetics and Natural Medicine. And yes, I am a naturopathic physician, but I focus on doing cosmetic facial injections. So this is, again, it brings in that creative engineering. I have tools. What can I do with these tools? And what can I do? And so there's 3 main things that I do in my practice. I do Botox injections, I do filler injections, and I do microneedling skin treatments. And I know previously I've talked in depth about microneedling, a little bit about fillers, but today I kind of wanted to take a deeper dive into Botox because Botox is fun. So first of all, there's 5 different types of Botox on the market. So Botox is a brand name. It is like the Kleenex of facial tissues or the Band-Aids of adhesive bandages. So it's just one of these 5 products. They're all manufactured a little bit differently, but they all do the same thing. They all achieve the same goal. And what they do is they inhibit muscle action. So this medicine, it causes muscle paralysis, and that's in parentheses because it is temporary. The effects of a treatment usually lasts about 3 to 5 months on most people, and after that, you regain your muscle movement. But what Botox treatment does is it addresses the mechanical force of aging. So this is wrinkles and creases. And so I always tell people to think of your skin like a piece of paper. So if you fold a piece of paper in half, like over and over and over and over and over and over again, you will eventually develop a crease in that piece of paper. Now, when you animate your forehead, and your skin folds in half. It's doing the same thing. Your skin is folding in half like that piece of paper, and eventually you're going to develop a crease in your skin. Well, Botox medicine stops those muscles from contracting and stops that folding from happening so that your skin lays flat. And then over time, your body will eventually heal that crease in the skin. And today I wanted to talk about some of the common myths. So I just picked 3. That's all we have time for. So myth number 1 is it completely freezes your face. If I use Botox, I'll look like a plastic Barbie doll. Number 2 is that Botox is only for wrinkles. And then number 3 is that Botox isn't safe. It's made from poison. And so with the first one, Botox completely freezes your face. This is kind of variable. So the strength of the effect is dose dependent. And so I always ask people when they come to see me, what kind of effect do you want? Do you want to be completely frozen and completely immobilized? Or do you want to retain some natural movement and some natural facial expressions with your eyebrows? Most people still want to retain some of that natural movement, and we can achieve that by adjusting the dose. So if you want to be completely immobilized, we simply increase the dose. We crank up the dose on you. if you want to retain some of that natural movement, we decrease the dose a little bit. And there is some wiggle room in there so we can achieve different goals. And the dose is dependent on a couple of other factors. Some people have, very broad forehead, a larger muscle surface area. Some people have a narrower forehead. Some people have like really thick or strong muscles and they're going to need a little bit more. Some people have, thinner, weaker muscles and they're going to need a little bit less. So I'm always kind of tailoring it to each person who comes in. And this is an example of someone. Let's see, let's start this video. So you'll see on the video on the left, like in her before video, that she has pretty strong and thick muscles and she has very bouncy eyebrows. But she wants to still be able to make all of her facial expressions. And so I tailored the dose with her so that on the right, you can see in her afters, she's still able to like fully animate her face and make all of her facial expressions, but she's gotten that smoothing effect of the treatment. And so her forehead doesn't bunch up as much as it does in the before video. And then, okay, so myth number 2, Botox is only for wrinkles. So it does have, there's kind of two parties here. There's the cosmetic use of Botox, which is what I do in my office. And then there's the medical use of Botox. So cosmetically, yes, so the majority of the time Botox is used for like these upper face wrinkles, but it can be used to improve smiles. I've been talking about smiles all month. It can be used to turn up the corners of the mouth because as we get older, our mouth or the corners of our mouth are slowly falling down with gravity, and we could use Botox to bring them back up again. It can reduce like a pebbly chin texture, and it can be even used for like jawline definition, again, manipulating which muscles are in action. Medically, Botox is used for migraines. It's used for this, teeth clenching pain that some people have. It's used for underarm sweating, overactive bladder and urinary incontinence, and neck spasticity, and more. I just picked a couple examples here. And this is an example of someone who I treated her high smile. So this is that gummy smile I've been talking about. And you can see that when she smiles, her upper lip lifts up really high. And she calls this her shark smile. And so this is a Botoxable treatment. And so what I did is I selectively targeted some of these smile muscles that are overactive on her. And I've weakened them so that now when she smiles, her upper lip doesn't lift up as high anymore. And it's quite a dramatic effect. Frankly, she could probably have even a little bit more treatment, but this is still a pretty good before and after result with her. Okay, so now for the fun one. Botox isn't safe. It's made from poison. So a couple of years ago, I actually wrote a pretty good blog article about this, where I actually did the math and I calculated, how much is in a vial, how many vials do you need to be injected with before you start to have botulism type symptoms. And if you want to read that article in depth, you can find it at my website. But today we'll kind of go through just like a quick overview. So the answer to this question is kind of split. It's like a yes and a no. So yes, Botox is made from the same bacteria that causes botulism poisoning, but no, Botox does not cause botulism. So botulism is caused by this bacteria, this little purple guy. And so what this bacteria does is it spits out this protein, and this protein is the botulinum toxin. That is what affects your nerves and your muscles and causes that paralysis. When Botox, the medicine, is made, they extract the single protein and they isolate it and they clean it up and they package it into a vial. So the vials of Botox do not contain this bacteria at all. It contains this very cleaned form of just the protein itself. And so each Botox vial also contains a very, very small, finite and measured amount of the toxin. And it does not replicate. So when I inject a bolus of Botox into the forehead, the amount you get in that injection is the amount you get. It does not multiply and it does not spread through the body. And so it doesn't cause any systemic systems to the rest of the body.
2
Botulism,
minutes.
on the other hand, botulism happens when you ingest the bacteria that produces this toxin. So botulism is what you get from canned goods. So this is when you see, the end caps of your canned goods are puffed out. That means that there's bacteria in there. And so when you eat the bad canned food, you eat that bacteria, and that bacteria in your body continues to replicate and multiply, and it produces this toxin unchecked. And so you get a massive dose of this botulinum toxin, and that's what causes those botulism poisoning symptoms. And so really, Botox it's made like from a toxic substance. But again, it's one of those medicines that if used improperly can have some detrimental effects, but if you use it correctly, it can be very safe. And so I kind of, lump it into all of the other medicines out there that are actually toxic. And so I bet every single person in this room has a bottle of Tylenol in your house right now. But how many of you have Googled how toxic Tylenol actually is? And so I'll kind of end it with that. Any questions?